Well, hello, and welcome back. It's almost like you knew the perfect moment to arrive. It's very good that you did, because it's time to get down to another chapter of our book, The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell. Now, we are presently up to chapter 16. Don't recall where we left off last time. What was going on? Right, things were getting complicated. And now, chapter 16, Through the Mines. Presumably they will stay complicated, but here we go. The twins didn't speak for the rest of the trip into the dwarf forests. They couldn't. There was too much to say and not enough words to express what they were feeling. The driver dropped them off a mile or so from the mines, and the twins walked in silence the rest of the way. They weren't even alarmed or threatened by the forest around them. Their minds were so full, there was no room to become nervous or timid by the thick and chilling trees around them. The mines are just past this hill, Alex said, looking at the map. At least now they were speaking, just not about the subject they needed to address. The twins reached the top of the hill, and on the other side, below, there were several tunnels leading into the side of a mountain. They were much different from the tunnels they had seen in the troll and goblin territory. They were perfectly rounded and sturdy. Dozens of dwarves were working in them, transporting wagons of jewels and rocks from one tunnel to the next. A loud bell rang from somewhere inside the mines, and a dozen more dwarves emerged, carrying their lanterns and picks with them. It was the end of the day, and they all headed home in single-file lines to different parts of the forest. The twins waited on the hill for a few moments before going into the mines, making sure no one was lingering behind. They went through the largest of the tunnels and found a row of lanterns hung along the wall just inside. They each took a lantern and walked deeper into the mountainside. The mines were huge. The shovels were lined up against the walls and the floor was covered with tracks for the dwarfs' mining carts and stretched into the mountains for miles. The twins kept walking and walking with their lanterns raised high above them, being on careful lookout for anything that might resemble a glass coffin. Are we going to talk about this? Alex asked her brother as they searched. Talk about the mines? He asked. No, you know what I mean, Alex said. I don't want to talk about anything but finding the coffin, Connor said. Connor, ignoring the situation isn't going to help anything, Alex said. Ignoring what situation? He said, not looking her in the eye. We saw a curvy tree. It was just another story Dad heard and told us when we were younger. Don't make this a bigger deal than it is. That's not what this is, and you know it, Alex said, raising her voice. Alex, stop, Connor said. Stop denying it, she said. Alex, don't, he said. You've known since the minute we got here. You felt it too, Alex said. I know you did. You may be able to lie to yourself, but you can't lie to me. I'm not lying. You're making things up in your head that you want to be true, Connor said, trying to hide the tears from forming in his eyes. All my life, I felt like I was missing out on something, like somewhere in the world something was going on that I was supposed to be a part of, and now I've found it. In this place, part of us belongs here, she said with tears streaming down her face. You can't prove it, Connor said. Connor, face it, Alex yelled. Dad is from here. He's from the Land of Stories. Then why didn't he tell us? Connor shouted, and it echoed through the mines. Why did he keep it from us? He sat on the ground and quietly sobbed into his hands. Alex sat on the ground next to her brother and cried with him. It was so much to take on, so much to digest. Maybe he felt like he couldn't, Alex said. He always said he would take us to the places where he grew up when we were older. We're still pretty young. Maybe he thought he would take us when he thought we were old enough to understand. I think, hi kids, did I ever tell you I'm from another dimension? Is pretty shocking, no matter what age you are, Connor said. It's such a heavy thing to confess, Alex said. He must have been waiting for the right moment. Unfortunately, the right moment didn't come until it was too late. So does that mean Grandma's from here too? Connor said. I guess so, Alex said. Then how did they get to our world? There must be more than one way besides the wishing spell, Connor said. There must be, Alex said. But the wishing spell is all we've got so far, so we need to keep looking for the glass coffin if we ever want to see Mom again. The twins dried their tears and continued their search into the mines. You don't think Mom is from here too, do you? Connor asked. I doubt it, Alex said. She has photo albums of all her childhood. Dad has only stories. Do you think she knows? Alex said. Sorry, do you think she knows? Connor asked. She has to, Alex said. How could she not? They were married for more than a decade. Then maybe she knows where we are, Connor suggested. Maybe she isn't worried about us as we thought. The twins spent another hour just walking through the mines. Connor had seen so many tunnels that he felt like his mind was starting to play tricks on him. He could have sworn he kept seeing things running around in the shadows. Did you see that? He asked, paranoid. You're just seeing shadows, Alex said. Oh, Connor said. I could have sworn it was... Never mind. The twins found a long miniature table with a few dozen miniature chairs around it. It looked like an area where the dwarves took breaks from working. A large portrait of Snow White hung on the dirt wall behind it, and a glass coffin with rubies and diamonds sat against the wall underneath it. Bingo, Connor said. He used a pick that had been left on the table to pry a few of the jewels loose from the coffin and placed them in Alex's bag. He could see where a few had already been taken by others before him. That was easy, Connor said. As soon as he turned around to face his sister, he wished he hadn't just said that. Connor? Alex asked, looking at her brother, who was completely petrified. Through the dim flames of their lanterns, the twins saw a dozen humongous black wolves circling them. They were surrounded by the big bad wolf pack. The wolves growled at the twins and gritted their teeth. Stay back, Connor said, and swung the pick at them. This didn't affect them at all. A few of them snickered. Are these them? One wolf said. Yes, another wolf said. We've been tracking their scent for days. Hello, children, said Malum Claw, creeping toward them. I would say nice to meet you, but I can tell from your smell that we've crossed paths before. Please don't hurt us, Alex said. She was shaking with fear and clutching onto Connor. Can we eat their limbs at least? Another wolf said. She doesn't need their limbs, does she? She? Alex said. Who is she? We agreed we would bring them to her unharmed, Malum Claw said regretfully, looking towards the twins. You're coming with us. Connor, Alex whispered to her brother. What are we going to do? I've got an idea, Connor said. He placed his lantern on the ground and took a step closer to Malum Claw. Bad dog. Very bad dog. Sit. The wolves and Alex had the exact same expression on their faces. What was he doing? I said sit. That's a very bad dog. Go to your basket. Continued Connor, shaking his index finger at Malum Claw. Whatever he thought he was doing was failing miserably, and it was just insulting the wolves. I changed my mind, Malum Claw told his pack. You can eat their limbs. Well, I'm out of ideas, Connor said, looking back at his sister. I'm not, Alex said. In one quick move, Alex kicked the lantern Connor had placed on the ground, and it soared across the tunnel and crashed into one of the wolves, setting him partially ablaze. The wolves rushed to help extinguish their friend. Alex grabbed Connor's hand, and they ran farther down the tunnel, going deeper into the mines. After them, Malum Claw commanded, and the remaining members of the pack chased after them. The twins ran as fast as they could. They only had one lantern left, so they were practically in the dark. They could hear the wolves stampeding behind them. Their howls were unbearably loud as they echoed down the tunnel. The tunnel began to descend, making it nearly impossible for the twins to run. Jump in there, Connor said, pointing to a minecart on a track. No way, Alex said, but Connor picked her up and plopped her inside. He jumped inside himself and pulled the brake lever, and the cart began traveling down the tunnel at a rapid speed. A few of the wolves swiped at them with their claws. The twins ducked down as far as they could in the cart, but not before one of them reached Connor and left a bloody scratch on his forearm. Alex kicked another right in the snout, and it whimpered away. Another wolf barely missed the twins, but his claws knocked the brake lever right off the cart. The cart gained speed, and soon they were outrunning the wolves. We're doing it! We're getting away, said Connor, holding his hand over his wounded arm. I wouldn't celebrate just yet if I were you, Alex said. She pointed to a sign ahead that read, Danger. Use brake lever while going down tunnel. That's not good, Connor said, wishing for the lever to somehow grow back on their cart. The cart began speeding faster down the tunnel as it descended at a steeper angle. They were going so fast, too fast, they could barely open their eyes with the air rushing by their faces. The track turned and dipped deeper into the mountain. The twins were afraid they were going to fly out of the cart if it didn't fly right off the track first. It was the scariest roller coaster they had ever been on. This would be awesome if it weren't for that fear of death, Connor shouted. He was even tempted to put his hands up, but he knew it wasn't an appropriate time. The cart zoomed through the mines, showing no sign of slowing down. In a matter of seconds, the twins' greatest fear had gone from being eaten alive by wolves to crashing in a dwarf mine. The track led them through a giant cave with stalactites pointing towards stalagmites and a large pool of water at the very bottom. To the twins' horror, they passed another sign, which said, "Dead End." It appeared an avalanche of rocks had fallen on the track many years before, and now the twins were speeding towards the solid wall of rock that had formed there. The twins ducked as low as they could in the minecart, bracing themselves for the traumatic injuries they were about to receive. The cart smashed against the rocks. It violently rattled as it broke through the wall. A few rocks fell into the cart and onto the twins. Alex screamed, and Connor covered his head as much as possible with his arm. Just when they thought they were surely about to die, the cart slowly came to a stop. The twins peeked around from inside the cart. They were outside, somewhere in the dwarf forest on the other side of the mountain. "I cannot believe we just survived that," Connor said. They were pretty banged up, but they climbed out of the cart, not seriously injured for the most part. They didn't waste a minute questioning their luck. The twins ran from the cart into the trees. "We gotta get out of here," Alex said. "It won't be long before the wolves find us again." "Who are they talking about? Who are they going to bring us to?" Connor asked. "I'm afraid to even say it." "Ah!" Alex screamed. They hadn't been in the forest for even a minute when they both felt brutal blows to the backs of their heads. They fell to the ground, slowly losing consciousness. Right before they passed out completely, the twins saw the faces of Bobblewort the troll and Eghorn the goblin looking down at them, each holding a club in his hand. The twins woke up with splitting headaches. They were bound together with rope in the back of a very familiar cart. "Hey, Eghorn, look who's waking up," Bobblewort said. "The little thieves have arisen," Eghorn said. The goblin and troll were driving the exact same cart, but it was being pulled by a different donkey. The previous one had most likely been used to death. They kept Alex's bag between them as they traveled down the road. Alex and Connor fought against the ropes, but they were tied with triple knots around their hands and feet. "Where are we?" Connor asked. Alex strained her neck looking up out of the cart, but managed to see some familiar trees. "We're back where they caught us the first time," Alex said. "We must have been knocked out for a whole day." "You want to make it 2 days?" asked Eghorn, raising his club. "This can't be happening again," Connor said. "You can't enslave us again. We told the fairies about you." "Oh yeah, we know," Bobblewort said. "Yeah, they came and gave us all very long lectures about it," Eghorn said. "And they shut off all our tunnels thanks to you," Bobblewort said angrily. "Now we have to take the long way around into our territory." "Then let us go," Connor said. "Not this time," Eghorn said. "You stole our king's crown while in our kingdom. According to the Happily Ever After Assembly rules, we have every right to bring you back to our kingdom and charge you for the crime." "It's going to be one heck of a trial," Bobblewort said. "Every troll and goblin will be there. And we've already scheduled you for beatings after the trial is over. Everyone in the territory will get a turn," Eghorn said, and he and the troll howled with laughter. Connor stayed calm about the matter. He raised his tied hands up just over the side of the cart. The scratch on his arm was still healing, and he stretched so a few drops of his blood fell from the wound and onto the ground as they traveled. "What are you doing?" Alex asked him. "I'm leaving a trail," Connor said. She didn't know what to think of this, but she trusted him. Whatever he was doing, he had a plan. A few hours later, the twins had managed to shift themselves up into a seated position. The troll and the goblin continued entertaining themselves by predicting the horrible things the twins would go through once they got back to the troll and goblin territory. Connor began seeing dark figures running between the trees in the distance, like he had seen in the cave. "Get ready," Connor said. "They're here." Alex mentally prepared herself for whatever was about to happen. "That was faster than I expected," she said. A small howl came from the trees. Eghorn and Bobblewort pulled on their donkeys' reins and ordered it to stop. The cart came to a halt. "Did you hear that?" Eghorn said. "Yeah, I did," Bobblewort said. They both pulled out their clubs and hopped off the cart, circling it for a moment. "Over there," Bobblewort said. "I see something." The troll and the goblin took off into the trees. "Help me get to my bag," Alex said to her brother. They began inching towards the front of the cart. Alex got a hold of her school bag with her teeth and dragged it back with them. It landed right by their tied hands, and she managed to get it open and pull out Cinderella's glass slipper, almost spraining her wrist in the process. "What are you doing?" Connor asked her. "Something that's going to hurt my soul and make me hate myself for the rest of my life," Alex said. She forcefully hit the slipper against the floor of the cart and broke it into 3 pieces. She used one of the shards to cut her and her brother loose. "Whoa," Connor said. "Never in a million years did I think you would do that. That's pretty gangster." "We can glue it back together, right?" Alex said, trying to frantically put the glass slipper back together like a puzzle. "It'll still work for the wishing spell, won't it?" Connor asked. "The spell never said it had to be in one piece," Alex said. They put the pieces of the slipper into Alex's bag and jumped out of the cart. They ran into the forest in the opposite direction that the troll and goblin had gone. A few moments later, they heard spine-chilling screams and howls as the troll and goblin were attacked by the big bad wolf pack. The horrible sounds made the twins run faster. They knew it would only be a matter of seconds before the wolves picked up their scents and would be right behind them. They didn't even know where they were going. They just knew they had to get somewhere safe as fast as possible. Alex was eyeing the forest around them. There was a deep roar coming from close by. Could they be near the ocean? "We're farther south than I thought," Alex said. "I think we may be back in the fairy kingdom." "Then let's find a fairy who can turn those wolves into chihuahuas," Connor said. He turned back, and in the distance behind him, he could see several wolves running towards them at full speed. A moment later, the twins saw the wolves running slightly ahead of them both, on their right and their left, gaining ground and preparing for the attack. The twins ran straight through a thick set of trees and then came to a sudden, jarring stop. They were standing on the edge of a very high cliff overlooking the ocean. "How did we get to the ocean so fast?" Connor yelled. "Look," Alex said. "It's Mermaid Bay. We're somewhere between the fairy kingdom and the sleeping kingdom." Connor looked behind them. The wolves were only a few feet away from pouncing on them. "No, it looks like we're somewhere between death and dying," Connor said. "Alex, I'm really sorry about this." "Sorry about what?" "Ah!" Alex screamed. Connor pushed his sister and himself off the cliff seconds before they would have been tackled by the wolves. They were falling so fast they couldn't breathe or hear each other's screams. All they could hear was air rushing past them. The twins plummeted into the ocean. The wolves stayed on top of the cliff for a few minutes, waiting for them to surface in the water, but they saw nothing. The twins were gone. Wow. Pretty bleak. Guess we'll find out what happened next time when we come back for chapter 17, entitled Goldilocks, Wanted Dead or Alive. But until then, you know that it's gotten late, and as usual, it means I've gotten tired. So it's time for me to get some sleep. Good night.